What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks into a talk show and ends up walking into a trap? What you're about to hear will shock you. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment, because this story will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about late-night television. The lights inside the studio were blazing hot that Tuesday evening. The crowd was buzzing, the stage glowing, and Michael B. Jordan took his seat across from Jimmy Kimmel. The audience expected the usual late-night routine. A few laughs, a promo for Michael's latest blockbuster, maybe a joke or two. But what they got was a train wreck they couldn't look away from. "So, Michael," Jimmy began, flashing that signature smirk, "I've got to ask about something that's been blowing up online. Some pretty wild stuff about your personal life. The tone, playful. The intent, anything but." Michael shifted slightly. The professional smile stayed on his face, but his eyes had sharpened. "Jimmy, I'm here to talk about the film. That's what we agreed on." The crowd chuckled awkwardly, but Jimmy didn't back off, not even close. "Oh, come on." He laughed. "The audience wants to know. Don't they deserve the truth? I mean, you're sitting in my chair, on my show. The least you can do is be honest with the people buying your movie tickets." The tension was immediate, palpable. Even the audience, usually lively, had started to go still. Michael's jaw tightened. "There's a difference between being honest," he said, "and entertaining gossip. I've always been real about my work, about what matters." Jimmy leaned forward. The smirk was gone. His voice dropped, laced with condescension. "Everything about you is fair game when you sit in that chair. Your relationships, your politics, your family. That's how this works, Michael. You don't get to control the narrative here." That was the moment everything shifted. Michael didn't raise his voice. He didn't flinch. But the look in his eyes? Cold, precise, dangerous. "Actually, Jimmy, that's how you think it works. There's a difference." The audience was silent now. Phones were coming out. They could feel it. This wasn't a bit. This wasn't part of the show. Jimmy scoffed. "Oh, really? Please, enlighten me. I've been doing this for decades." "I think I know how my show operates," Michael inhaled. Slow, controlled. The kind of breath you take before a storm. "I've been on every kind of show, Jimmy. Oprah, Colbert, Fallon, Stern. And every single one of them knew the line between entertainment and exploitation. They treated me like a person. You're treating me like clickbait." Jimmy laughed, but this time the crowd didn't. The laugh sounded forced, shaky. "That's rich," Jimmy snapped. "Coming from someone who's played the same tough guy in every movie for the last 5 years. Let's talk exploitation. How about phoning in the same role again and again and calling it acting?" The jab hit like a slap. Several people in the audience audibly gasped. Michael's publicist in the front row looked like she'd stopped breathing. But Michael? He went still. The kind of still that meant something bad was coming. His voice, when it came, was low, measured. "Excuse me? Did you just question my integrity as an actor?" Jimmy leaned back, clearly rattled, but still trying to hold control. "I'm questioning a lot of things, Michael. Your acting, your image, your whole persona. You walk in here like some noble artist, when really you're just another Hollywood pretty boy who lucked into a few good roles." And just like that, the mask slipped. Michael's fists clenched on the armrest. Camera operators zoomed in. The audience barely breathed. "Jimmy," Michael said, I need you to be very careful about what you say next. Because right now, you're not just disrespecting me. You're disrespecting every actor who's ever sacrificed for this craft. Every kid who ever dreamed of making it and got told no 1,000 times. Every person who's clawed their way into a seat at this table. Jimmy scoffed again, waving his hand. Spare me the speech. You think a few awards and a pretty face make you untouchable? If you can't handle the heat, maybe you should stick to your little superhero movies, where everything's scripted and safe. And that was the end. Michael leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper, but every word landed like a hammer. Let me explain something to you, Jimmy. I didn't luck into anything. I earned everything I have, every role, every dollar, every fan. I worked for it. And I did it with dignity, something you clearly wouldn't recognize if it sat across from you on live television. The studio? Silent. You could hear a pin drop. Jimmy Kimmel had no comeback. Because in that moment, there was no comeback. So, what do you think? Did Jimmy cross the line? Or was Michael B. Jordan right to push back? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because every once in a while, late night turns real. And when it does, you better believe the world is watching. I've earned everything I have, Michael said, voice steady and razor-sharp, with blood, sweat, and the kind of dedication that would break most people. I've worked with directors who've forgotten more about filmmaking than you'll ever know about comedy. Jimmy scoffed, but for the first time there was a crack in his polished exterior. Is that supposed to intimidate me? He shot back. You think the tough guy act works on everyone? This is my house, Michael. My show. My rules. Michael's laugh was cold. Ice in July. Your house? He echoed. Jimmy, you're not even the funniest person in your own building. You're a middle-aged man whose biggest achievement is mocking people who are more talented, more successful, and frankly, more relevant than you'll ever be. The room went silent. Some audience members instinctively covered their mouths. The energy had shifted. This wasn't an interview anymore. It was a reckoning. You want to talk about personal lives? Michael continued, voice gaining momentum like a freight train. Let's talk about yours. You built your career on being safe. The vanilla pick. The guy networks call when they want laughs without substance. You're a placeholder, Jimmy. A seat filler in your own story. Jimmy's face flushed red. His signature smirk was gone, replaced by the stunned panic of a man who just realized the floor beneath him was cracking. You don't know what you're talking about, he muttered. Don't I? Michael leaned in. You're threatened by people like me. We take risks. We push boundaries. We create art that matters. You recite jokes written by people funnier than you. And you interview guests who are more interesting than you. Cameras zoomed in. Jimmy's hands trembled as he reached for his coffee mug. He missed the handle the first time. You know what? Jimmy tried to snap back, voice cracking. You've been reading too many of your own headlines. You sit there, like some artistic messiah, but you're just another actor with good genes and a solid PR team. Michael tilted his head, eyeing Jimmy like a biologist watching a cornered rat. Jimmy, are you having a breakdown? Because this... He gestured broadly at the studio, the stunned audience, the crumbling host. This is painful to watch. Your audience deserves better than this meltdown. My audience loves me, Jimmy fired back, but his eyes darted toward the crowd. They weren't laughing. They looked embarrassed. Do they? Michael asked quietly. Because I'm looking at them right now, and they look mortified. For you. Behind the cameras, Jimmy's producer frantically waved for a commercial break. Jimmy didn't see him. His attention locked on Michael like a man sinking in quicksand, clawing for control. "You want to know the truth?" Michael said, his tone calm but dangerous. "You hate that people like me exist. Because while you're up here making safe little jokes, the world is changing without you. We're out there telling stories that matter, creating work that resonates." Jimmy let out a bitter, humorless laugh. "You make movies, Michael. You play dress-up. Don't pretend you're curing cancer. And you tell jokes for a living." Michael shot back instantly. "At least my work inspires people. When someone watches one of my films, they might see a piece of themselves. When they watch your show, they get an hour of sedative with a laugh track." A murmur rippled through the audience. A few people even nodded. Jimmy saw it. It stung. "You think you're better than everyone," he snapped. "You act like Hollywood royalty, like we should all bow down to the almighty Michael B. Jordan." "I never said I was better than anyone," Michael said, standing. "But I am better than this. Better than sitting here while you try to tear me down just to feel relevant again." Jimmy, desperate, reached across the desk and grabbed Michael's arm. "Sit down," he hissed. "We're not done." It was a mistake. The moment Jimmy touched him, the studio froze. Michael looked down at Jimmy's hand, then slowly back up at his face. The look he gave could have stopped time. "Jimmy," Michael said, his voice deathly quiet. "I need you to take your hand off me. Right now." Something in that tone snapped Jimmy out of his spiral. He let go immediately. But the damage was done. A line had been crossed, and everyone in there, the room felt it. "Did you just grab me on national television?" Michael asked, still not raising his voice. "Did you really try to physically stop me from leaving, just so you could keep humiliating me?" Jimmy paled. "Michael, I didn't mean to. I just—" "You just what?" Michael cut him off. "You got so desperate to hold on to control. You forgot. I'm not your prop. I'm a person." The room was deathly still. Even the camera operators had stopped moving. Michael stood at full height now, towering over Jimmy. He looked down, not just physically, but emotionally. "You want to know the saddest part?" he said. "I came here tonight excited to talk about my work. I respected you. I respected this platform. I thought we could talk about art, about meaning, about what we do as creators." Jimmy tried to speak, but Michael raised a hand. "No, you had your chance." He paused, and then delivered the final blow. "You want to know what I really think of you, Jimmy? I think you're a coward. I think you're so terrified of fading into irrelevance, you'd rather torch your own reputation than admit someone else's light might be brighter. And now you've shown everyone who you really are." Jimmy's mouth opened, but nothing came out. There was nothing left to say. "When push comes to shove, you're just a bully with a microphone." The audience froze. You could hear a pin drop. Some stared in disbelief. Others instinctively raised their phones, capturing what was quickly becoming the most uncomfortable moment in late-night history. "I've been in this business over a decade," Michael said, his voice rising with measured intensity. "I've worked with the best, visionary directors, brilliant actors, creative giants. And in all that time, I've never, not once, encountered someone as unprofessional as you're being right now." Jimmy's hand trembled as he reached for his water glass. "Michael, maybe we should take a break. Let everyone cool down." Michael laughed, cold and calm. "Jimmy, I am cool. Probably the calmest person in this building. You're the one unraveling. You've lost control of your own show." The words hit Jimmy like a gut punch. He glanced desperately at his band, his writers, anyone. But all he saw were blank, horrified faces. Some looked away. Others just shook their heads. Michael turned to the camera now, voice steady and sharp. "You want the truth? He invited me here under false pretenses. Told my team we'd talk about my new film, my creative process, the work I'm proud of. But instead he blindsided me with personal attacks and tabloid gossip. Jimmy tried to cut in. Michael. But Michael wasn't done, not even close. And when I didn't play along with his little trap, when I refused to sacrifice my dignity for his ratings, he got angry. So angry that he put his hands on me to force me into participating in my own public shaming." The weight of those words landed like a thunderclap. The audience realized this wasn't just an awkward interview anymore. It was a moment of reckoning. Michael turned back to Jimmy. "Look at me," he said, calm but commanding. "Really look. Do you see what you've become? In 5 minutes, you've destroyed everything it took you years to build." Jimmy's eyes welled up. For a fleeting second, it looked like he might apologize, might try to salvage something. Instead, he made the worst decision of his career. He forced a twisted grin and turned to the crowd. "You know what, folks? I think we're seeing the real Michael B. Jordan tonight. This is what happens when Hollywood divas don't get their way. They throw tantrums." A collective gasp swept through the audience. Even his most loyal fans recoiled. Michael stood still, eyes locked on him. "Diva," he repeated, incredulous. "You ambushed me, grabbed me, tried to humiliate me. And I'm the diva?" He shook his head. "Do you hear yourself right now?" But Jimmy wasn't listening. He was in free fall. "This is my show," he barked. "And on my show, nobody is above being called out, especially guests like this." Silence, thick, heavy, damning. Michael slowly turned toward him, voice razor-sharp. "Guests like this?" He let the words hang. "What exactly do you mean by that, Jimmy?" "Because I'm starting to think this isn't about my answers. It's about something else entirely." Jimmy's face drained of color. "That's not what I meant. I just meant, you know, difficult guests." Michael didn't blink. "No, Jimmy, that's exactly what you meant. And now everyone knows it." The room was dead silent, but Michael's voice echoed with authority. "The tragedy is you had a choice. You could have shown grace, decency, basic respect. Instead, you showed everyone who you really are when the cameras are rolling." Jimmy was sweating through his collar now. His cue cards shuffled in his shaking hands. "Michael, I think you're overreacting. We're just having a conversation." Michael let out a cold, bitter laugh. "No. Conversations require mutual respect. What we have here is a desperate man trying to tear down someone who threatens him. And that someone refusing to be torn down." The band looked away. Writers stared at the floor. Producers frantically whispered into their headsets. Everyone knew this moment would be talked about for years. Michael looked out at the studio, then back at Jimmy. "You want to know what I think happened here tonight? You saw me walk in. Confident, successful, respected, and it reminded you of everything you're not, everything you'll never be." "That's ridiculous," Jimmy said. But the conviction was gone. Michael stepped toward the edge of the stage. "From where I'm standing, you look like a man so insecure about his own irrelevance that he's willing to torch his career on live television just to drag someone else down with him." He was almost off stage when Jimmy shouted after him. "You can't just leave. We still have 10 minutes left in the segment." Michael turned back, eyes blazing. "Watch me. If you walk off that stage, you'll never work in this town again," Jimmy shouted, desperate now. "I have friends. I have connections. I can—" "Stop!" Michael's voice sliced through the air like a blade. "Just stop. Do you even hear yourself? You're threatening me because I won't sit here and let you abuse me." Michael's voice cut through the tension like a scalpel. "You're actually threatening my career. Because I had the audacity to protect my dignity." The studio was frozen. No laughter, no applause. Some in the audience covered their mouths. Others just stared wide-eyed. The cameras never stopped rolling, capturing what was now unfolding as one of the most explosive moments in late-night television history. Michael took a breath, calm and resolute. "Let me explain something to you, Jimmy. I don't need you. I don't need your show. I don't need your platform, your approval, or your fake friendship." He paused, locking eyes with the host. "What I do need is to work with people who understand that talent and success aren't threats to be torn down. They're achievements to be celebrated." Jimmy opened his mouth to respond. Michael raised a hand. "I'm not finished." The audience held their breath. "You said I'd never work in this town again?" Michael shook his head slowly. "Jimmy, this town isn't built on ego or gatekeeping. It's built on talent, creativity, and the ability to connect with people. And tonight, on your own show, you've proven to everyone watching that you possess none of those things." He leaned in, his voice lowering, but carrying like thunder. "If anyone's career is in jeopardy tonight, Jimmy, it's not mine." Michael took a step closer. His voice dropped to a whisper, somehow louder than any shout. "You want to know the difference between us? When people remember tonight, they'll remember a man who stood with grace under fire, and a man who unraveled on live television, revealing himself to be petty, desperate, and cruel." He tilted his head. "Which one do you think you are?" Jimmy's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. He looked like a man drowning in his own spotlight. Michael's tone softened, but carried more weight than ever. "You wanted something personal. Fine. I was raised to respect people, to lift them up, not tear them down, to walk in integrity, whether the cameras are rolling or not. My mother would be ashamed of me if I sat here for even one more second and pretended this was acceptable." He adjusted his jacket, then turned directly to the main camera. "To everyone watching at home, to my fans, to anyone who's ever believed in me, thank you. What you witnessed tonight wasn't entertainment. It was a cautionary tale about what happens when insecurity and power go unchecked." He turned back to Jimmy, who now sat slumped in his chair, like a man who had just lost everything. "Jimmy, I genuinely hope you get the help you need. This isn't who you have to be. But the choice to be better? You'll have to make that without me." Michael began to walk off stage. At the edge of the steps, he paused. One final beat. He turned, looked back, and spoke with heartbreaking clarity. "You know what's really sad about all this? I used to watch your show. I used to think you were funny. I respected what you did." A pause. "But tonight, you showed me that the man I thought I was watching never actually existed." And just like that, Michael B. Jordan walked off stage, through the stunned audience, out of the studio, and straight into history. Jimmy sat alone. The stage lights burned above him. The cameras still rolled, capturing every flicker of humiliation, every second of silence. The audience began to murmur, whisper, then speak openly. Something had broken. After what felt like an eternity, Jimmy looked up at the camera. his voice barely a whisper. "We'll be right back." But everyone watching knew. There was no right back after that. The credits never rolled that night. The show cut to an emergency commercial break and never came back. Somewhere in Los Angeles, Michael B. Jordan was already driving home, his integrity intact, his reputation stronger than ever, his conscience clear. That night, one of Hollywood's biggest stars reminded everyone what real strength looks like. That night, a talk show host learned there are lines you simply can't uncross. That night, television history was made, one devastating comeback at a time. What do you think? Should Michael have stayed and finished the interview? Or did he do the right thing by walking away? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more explosive stories from the world of entertainment.